welcome to the Babe Bulletin podcast, where we talk empowerment, self-love, boudoir, and anything else that makes us feel like a total babe. I am Alicia. I am your friendly neighborhood boudoir photographer and body image coach. And before we jump into today's episode, which is about boudoir photography and finding a boudoir photographer and making sure that your session is great, I just want to wish you all a happy Halloween. We are one day away from the greatest holiday that has ever existed. So, woohoo for that. Is anybody dressing up? What are you going as? More importantly, I guess, what is your dog going as? Because I would really like to know if you are dressing up your dog. That is really the whole point of having a pet, right? Is that you get to find little adorable costumes to put them in one day a year. Our dog, Bosco, is going to be a lobster. And I'm very excited about this. Why a lobster, you ask? Well, because last year after Halloween, lobster costumes were on clearance. So I got one for him. And if you want to say that 5 times fast, lobster costumes were on clearance, I think I've just found a new tongue twister for you to try out. Myself and my husband, we will be zombies for Halloween, which I'm pretty excited about because that's a very easy costume. We just had to find old clothing we didn't care about and then rip it up and dirty it up and stuff. And then I actually used to do special effects makeup, so I'm excited to dip into that wheelhouse a little bit again and turn us into zombies. And I know that the other members of my family are also going to do zombies, where it's a whole thing. It's a whole theme. Best part about being a zombie for Halloween is that I can still eat and drink comfortably. I don't have to worry about a mask getting in my way or anything like that. And listen, when it comes to Halloween, I want pumpkin themed pudding shots and little mini fun size bars of Milky Way. Okay, that's what I'm here for. So I'm excited to have a costume this year that makes all of that incredibly easy. And anytime I get to play around with a vial of fake blood, I'm down for it. So I'm excited for that as well. I get to kind of use the knowledge of past years of special effects makeup to turn everybody into something kind of gory and grisly and fun and chaotic. And I'm looking forward to it. So I hope you're going to have fun tomorrow doing whatever it is that you're going to be doing. So again, I want to wish you all a very happy Halloween, and I hope you have fun doing whatever it is that you're going to be doing. Okay, so let's jump into the fun of boudoir photography then for the rest of this episode. I want to talk about 2 things today. One being how to find your perfect boudoir photographer. And then once you have found that photographer, how do you mentally prepare for the session that you have with them? Because this is a really intimate form of photography, and I want you guys to be feeling as prepared as possible going into your shoots. And honestly, that starts with the photographer that you choose. This should not be a decision that you make willy-nilly. I want you guys to do your research, and I really want you to find a photographer that works with you, because honestly, it's really vital that you feel comfortable around your boudoir photographer. If you have not found a photographer that you trust, then your photos are not going to feel like you. So I've got some tips and tricks. As somebody who has been doing this for almost 8 years, I think I've got a couple of ideas to help you all find a photographer who's going to work for you. To start, I want you to really think about the kind of style or like the vision of photography that you like. Are you drawn to a lot of contrast? So you really like dark shadows and you like bright light, and you want to see a lot of really like really black shadows in the shots, which would be considered dark and moody photography? Or do you want something very bright, something without a lot of contrast, something without a lot of shadows? That would be bright and airy photography. 2 very, very different styles, and I would say most boudoir photographers tend to fall into one category or the other. There's also something called a true color photographer, where somebody's maybe more in the middle and shooting with realistic color tones. So maybe that's more your style. Maybe you want somebody in the middle. I don't know. But you've got to figure out, what you like. Because if you book a bright and airy photographer who has all white walls and doesn't shoot with a lot of shadow, and then you wanted a lot of shadow, that's not really fair to the photographer, and it's a bummer for you. And we don't want it to be a bummer for you. I want to make sure you're getting what you want. So, understanding your vision, that's going to ensure compatibility between you and your photographer's aesthetic. Don't book a dark and moody photographer if you want something very light and airy and playful and delicate. Right. So it's no shade to the photographer. Everybody's got their different style. It's okay for you to have a preference. And I just want to make sure that you're booking with somebody who matches that preference. And trust me, your photographer is going to want that too. I tend to shoot dark and moody, especially inside of my studio. If someone came to me and then was disappointed that they didn't get bright and airy shots, I would be super bummed. I would have felt like I kind of let them down, but that's just not my style. I don't shoot bright and airy. So your photographers want to make sure that they're able to give you what you want as well. And if somebody came to me and said, I really want nothing but like bright white walls and super airy vibes, I'd be like, oh, maybe I'm not the photographer for you, but I can help you find someone who is. I'm happy to offer recommendations. So keep that in like the very front of your brain when you start looking for a photographer. What kind of vibe do you like? What kind of editing style do you like? Do you like high contrast? Do you like low contrast? And then look for a photographer whose portfolio matches that vision. This actually is a perfect segue into my second point, then, which is that you need to explore portfolios. You really want to dive into your photographer's work. And we're looking beyond just technical skills, trying to get a vibe for how the clients are feeling, in the photo. You're trying to see how the photographer chooses to document someone's body. Does it feel like the work is for the female gaze? Does it feel like the work is for the male gaze? When you view an image, how does that make you feel as the viewer? You want to make sure that the person's portfolio kind of syncs up with the emotions that you want to get out of a session. That's also super duper important. So dig into those portfolios. Definitely check out Instagram. That's, our photo heavy app anyways. So go through their Instagram, check out their website, because websites, we have a lot more control over them as a photographer, and I can put work up on my website that I'm not allowed to put on Instagram and Facebook. So if you want to see the comfort level that maybe a photographer has with like nude photography, definitely go to their website. And, it doesn't hurt to ask your photographer as well if there's something that they're comfortable shooting with, if you don't see it in their portfolio. I just had a client ask me, about nudes, and she said, oh, I don't see any of it on your Facebook. And I'm like, yes, that is because I cannot put nude photography on Facebook, but I am totally cool with photographing it. Does not bother me at all. Like, here's my boundary as to what I will not photograph, but anything other than that, I'm totally cool with. And she was like, yes, okay, that's exactly what I want. Perfect. I'm glad I asked. And we got everything cleared up so that she's feeling good for her session. And it's just important to ask if you don't see something in a portfolio that you're wondering if the photographer is okay with. Because again, if you book them and then you show up and you're like, this is a thing that I want to do, and they're like, oh, I don't shoot that, now we've kind of set ourselves up for failure. And I, again, don't want that for you. I want you to get the experience that you want. So just having clear and honest communication with your photographer. If you don't see something in their work, as a photographer, we very much appreciate that. Another thing that I want you to do as you are searching for your photographer is assess their professionalism and their experience levels. Nothing wrong with booking a brand new photographer, but just know that the experience you have with someone who's brand new to Boudoir is probably going to be a lot different than somebody who's been doing this for 5, 10, 20 years. A seasoned boudoir photographer, in my personal experience, tends to navigate the very delicate but important balance of creating a comfortable space while also letting their client push their own boundaries. Seasoned boudoir photographers tend to navigate this balance pretty well. I want my clients to go outside of their comfort zone if it's something they're ready to explore. I am not going to put them in a position where they feel like they have to do something that they don't want to do, though. I never want a client to feel obligated or forced to do something that they don't want. I feel like that negates one of the big purposes of my sessions, which is practicing bodily autonomy. I want clients to feel energized and ready to take on that decision to go outside of their comfort zone on their own. And I'm here to cheer them on and to help and to guide and support, but I don't want them to feel like it's something that they have to do. And depending on the level of experience a photographer has, they may not know how to create that space just yet. Also, the way that photographers talk about their clients is really important. Do they use empathy and kindness? Do they talk about their clients with empathy and kindness? Do they seem like they offer a lot of support to their clients? Do they seem like a cheerleader? Or does it not really feel that way? You can kind of find this information out by looking at the captions that they write and checking out their website and viewing the content that is written on their website to kind of get that idea. Definitely, follow them on their online presence and see, maybe maybe they talk about their clients in a way that doesn't feel great to you. Or maybe you're looking for a form of professionalism that's different than what they offer. Maybe they're a more laid back, relaxed studio, and maybe you want something that is a little more structured. I don't know. Totally up to you. Again, you should be finding the person who works for you. Maybe you don't want a photographer who cusses. I probably would not be the photographer for you. So if you were looking for something like that, very like, button up seems to have a negative connotation to it, but I don't know another word to use right now. But like, if you're looking for a more buttoned up kind of photographer, again, I might not be the person for you. And you will definitely, I think, get that vibe from not only my work, but the conversation that we would have during a discovery call. And again, it's okay if that's not for you. I would want you to find the photographer that feels best to you. If that makes you feel uncomfortable, totally get it. You should find the type of photography studio that makes you feel comfortable. So definitely make sure that the studio's professionalism and experience lines up with what you want. That's really important. Another great area to check while you're trying to discover like professionalism and experience is actually client reviews. So make sure you check those out and give those a read. The people who have done sessions are going to be honest about their experience. So see if what other people have experienced aligns with what you want to experience. That's going to really help you make a decision and find a photographer that best suits you. So, for example, a lot of the reviews that people have left me have included things about body image and getting people comfortable in their skin and having people of different shapes and sizes feel really welcome in my space. Body image is a big part of what I do. Body image mindset work, stuff like that, really important to me. It plays a very big role in the work here I do at my studio. If that is not important to you at all, then maybe I'm not the studio for you. And again, that's totally fine. But if you're like, that is just not important to me at all, that is not why I'm doing a session, I'm just straight up doing this as a gift or something like that, I don't know, maybe you'd be getting something out of the shoot that you don't want. And, I want you to get everything out of the session that you want. Maybe you don't realize that body image mindset work is something that you want to work on, and you book a session with me, and all of a sudden you're like, I've had all of these epiphanies about my body that I didn't realize I needed to have. Cool, that would be great too. If you read the reviews on my Google business page and you're seeing stuff that you're like, oh, that's not really important to me, well, that's okay. But then and then you can look at reviews of other studios and find one that does align with what you want. So definitely check out client reviews. They can be so, so, so helpful. A couple of red flags to look for, I will tell you this. Are the reviews that you're seeing from like the last year? Because some businesses, if they start to receive a lot of negative flack, will go in and say, oh, this is spam, and Google will take the reviews down. So if you hop onto a website of a business that is still running and you don't see any recent reviews, Maybe do a little investigating, because there is a chance that businesses are just taking those reviews down. So that's not great. Definitely check out the year that the reviews have been published, and see if they have any that are from the last year. You also want to make sure that you're booking with a photographer who has open communication with you. I really value clear dialogue with my clients. I want to make sure that their needs and their wants are understood by me, and I want to create a collaborative environment where my client feels like they can shine. That's so important to me. I want this to be a team effort, right? Like, I'm happy to do all of the planning and all of the work and all of that. But still, the day of your session, I want to make sure that I'm meeting your expectations, and that if there's something special that you want to do, I'm able to do it. And you had a cool idea or a prop that you wanted to bring, I want to know. I just had a client who wanted like fairy elf outdoor kind of vibes. Like, she wanted to shoot with purple flowers, and I went and tracked down wild purple flowers and I figured out where we could shoot with those. And then I went and I purchased a bouquet of flowers. Like, I felt so cool. I went to Michael's and I picked out a bunch of fake flowers, and I like built this whole bouquet for her, and then we were able to shoot with that bouquet. Let me know what you want as your photographer, and I want to be able to give you, the stuff that you want. So that's why communication is so key. If your photographer is not responding to your emails, if they won't get on the phone with you, if they won't meet with you, those feel a little bit like red flags to me, because just me personally as a photographer, I want to make sure everything is crystal clear and that you don't feel confused about any part of the process, and that I'm building a session that feels right for you. I want to make sure what I'm creating feels like what you want to be created. And the only way that I can do that is if we're talking, if we're emailing, if we chat on the phone. So communication, it's so key to me, especially in such an intimate and vulnerable experience like a boudoir shoot. So if your photographer is not willing to talk with you in any way, shape, or form, or they take, I don't know, a really long time to respond to you, that feels a little unsettling to me. That feels a little red flaggy to me. So just watch for that. You should also consider the atmosphere that the photo shoot is going to take place in. Do you like how the studio looks? Do you like the shooting location? And there's a lot of different places where boudoir shoots can take place: outside, hotel rooms, in someone's home, in a commercial studio. Lots of options, and you can kind of figure out which one works best for you. I personally have done all of those. I've photographed clients in hotel rooms. I've taken clients outside. I used to run my studio out of my home, actually two different homes. So I've had a home studio twice. Both were great. And now I have a commercial studio space. So I've kind of done all of that. And it really just comes down to what you personally like. You want to make sure that you're picking an environment that, aligns with your comfort level. If you hire a boudoir photographer who shoots a lot of their content outside and that makes you uncomfortable, maybe that's not the photographer for you. That's okay. Do you like white walls, or do you like color? Do you like brick? Do you like wood floors? I don't know. These are sort of the things that you need to think about when you're looking at the studio space, the environment that your photos will be taken in. Because, if you really want exposed brick walls and then you came to my studio, you will be bummed out because I don't have that. I got green walls and a white wall, you know? So check out the work. Again, this is why exploring the portfolio is so important, because you can get a sense of the atmosphere that they shoot in. And if you want something, special, talk to your photographer and see if they're able to do that for you. I once had someone reach out to me and ask me about like doing like a bubble bath scene, and I don't have a tub in my studio space. So I said, well, we can do a wet look. That I've done lots of times. I love shooting wet looks, but I don't have a tub. And you know what? She went a different direction, and that's okay. I would rather her get what she wants than be disappointed with the experience that I could give her. So check out the studio atmosphere. and figure out what you like. Do you want a commercial space? Do you want to be indoors? Do you want to go outside? Is the space accessible if you need it to be accessible for like a wheelchair or a walker or something like that? These are all things to consider. Something else I want you to consider. Do you know what this photo shoot is going to cost? Transparent pricing and packages, I really think are paramount. Not I think, they are. They just are paramount. You need to know what you're getting and what at least each individual image costs before you come in and actually pick out your images. I have heard horror stories from other people in the past about not getting any kind of art menu until they're actually looking at their images and then being kind of shell shocked by what everything costs and feeling almost like blackmailed into purchasing images, because most photographers, myself included, we don't really hang on to images that our clients don't order, because it's like, well, if you didn't like it, why would I hang on to it? But then that creates this feeling of like, oh, I didn't know that's what this cost. And if I leave here, I can't get that back. And it's stressful for everybody involved. So at some point before your image reveal, you should have an understanding of what this is going to cost. I have like starting prices listed on my website. And then during a discovery call with a client, I go over what the session costs and then what my each individual image costs. That way people have a sense of what their final cost will be given the amount of images that they like. It's a little bit tricky sometimes with Boudoir because it is a luxury photo experience. And sometimes people will say, well, what is it going to cost? And it's like, well, I don't know if you're going to like 8 images or 40. I hope you like 40, but I don't know what kind of product you want. And you don't know what kind of product you want because you don't know what the options are yet. So again, that's why I like at least bare minimum, like starting prices. I always tell people an average, like on average, my clients spend between this amount and this amount. So they have an idea. And then I always send a full investment menu immediately to my clients as well, so they have an idea of what they might want to spend when they come and look at their images. Pricing should not be withheld from you until you're actually looking at your photos. I think you need to know ahead of time what you can expect to pay for your artwork. So again, that's why I go over all of the like starting costs and the averages on a call. And then in my dream shoot planner, along with several emails that I send to clients before their shoot so that they have an understanding that things cost X, Y, and Z. And at the very least, you know what one image would cost you and you know what the session fee is going to cost. So you have an idea there, at least of like the bare minimum, the smallest amount you could pay, you know what that is. And I give people like the full range too of like, well, I've had some clients spend this much money, and people are like, okay. So really it can kind of be as much or as little as you want. At my studio, that's just how things are set up. But at least people have an understanding of what averages cost and what individual images cost when they start the process, and then they get that full menu and they can really dig in and see what they like and what they don't like once they're looking at the full art menu. But if that art menu is not sent to you before your session date, that feels like a red flag to me. So talk to your photographer about when you would get that art menu, and definitely talk to them about pricing. And if they're being shady and they don't really want to tell you, then that's going to lead to problems during your image reveal. I also believe that you should be choosing a photographer who celebrates body positivity and size diversity. That's again, body image mindset is a big part of what I do here at the studio. So it's important to me. Maybe that's less important to you, but I think it's really important that when you're looking at a studio, you see a variety of bodies. You see different sizes, shapes, races. Sometimes physical ability is a little bit tricky because you can't just look at someone and know what they're capable of doing, but you want to see as much diversity as possible, in my opinion. I think when you're looking at a portfolio, you should see at least one body that you resonate with. And you look at that person and you're like, okay, I feel some connection to that person in some way. I find that to be really helpful. So to me, you would want to find a studio that is committed to you know, body diversity. They are joyfully celebrating all shapes, sizes, identities, that kind of good stuff. Because you don't want to, I wouldn't feel welcome in a space where I didn't see a body that looked like mine. That's me personally. Maybe you feel differently, but I find I have a better time shooting with photographers who have body shapes and sizes like mine represented in their work. I feel more comfortable with that personally. Also, what kind of personal attention are you going to be getting from this photographer? Do the sessions feel very cookie cutter, or do you feel like your photographer is really talking to you and getting to the root of what you want to get out of this session? Are they asking you questions about what you like, what you don't like? What's your favorite part of your body that you really want to celebrate? Why are you even doing a session? What's prompting you to do this now? Let me find out. Oh, okay. Oh my gosh, you're getting married. Do you want to include any of your wedding details? What do you have? Yes, bring in your shoes. That would be amazing. Oh, you just had surgery. Tell me about that. Tell me about your body's physical abilities after this surgery. How are you feeling? Oh, okay. So you've got some knee problems. Okay, so we should probably make sure we're avoiding knee poses then. And when we are shooting, if your knees start to hurt, we can take a stretch break or a water break. I don't know. These are all things that I kind of do with my clients to make sure that their session is catered to them. So it's important that you are finding a photography studio that is going to create an experience that is a continuum of care for you, and not that you book your session and then it's just like over. I think continuing care after sessions is really important. So maybe they've got a VIP group on Facebook that you can join so that you stay in the loop, and you can get support when you need it. I know my email inbox is always open to people if they're struggling and they want just a little additional cheerleader boost and they just need a little more self-love. I'm always happy to give that. I love interacting with people in my Facebook group because they can leave comments, they can vent about a struggle that they're having, and I can offer support. Maybe they had a really great day and they're trying to practice some gratitude. I can cheer them on. I don't want this to be like a one and done kind of situation where you show up, you do your shoot, you leave, and then we never talk ever again. Like, I want to make sure that not only am I creating a session that's catered specifically for you, but that you're still getting care and support after your shoot, because this should be an ongoing kind of thing in my mind. And if that's important to you, then you want to make sure you're finding a studio that offers that. And hopefully, with all of these things, in mind, you're able to find a photographer who is going to make a session that really gives you the best experience possible. Boudoir, finding a boudoir photographer should come with a lot of thought on your part and some research on your part so that the photographer you're booking aligns with your beliefs and your values, and you know that you're going to get an experience that will stay with you in a positive way for the rest of your life, because boudoir has the ability to make or break someone's confidence. It's a big responsibility to take on as a photographer, and you want to make sure that you're finding someone who recognizes that and who cares about that. It's really important to me in my line of work that my clients leave my studio with a better relationship to their body than when they walked in. And if that is what I can accomplish with them, I consider that to be a huge win. And you want to make sure that you're finding a photographer who, whatever goals they have, it aligns with your goals for this shoot. That's so important. So hopefully that helps you on your journey to finding a photographer. And then when you have found one, awesome. Now the nerves might start to kick in a little bit though, right? That inner critic might start to show up a little bit and start saying stuff to you that is not true. The nervous feelings might show up, which is normal. That's just your brain's way of trying to protect you from a new, scary, vulnerable situation. Nerves, totally normal before a boudoir shoot. I have a couple of tips to help you mentally prepare so that we can maybe soften those nerves a little bit, quell those fears a little bit. And then when you do show up for your shoot, you're feeling as empowered and confident as possible. And if you found a good photographer, they're going to help you out a lot with that too. Once you start shooting, the nerves should eventually kind of fall off a little bit, and you should just be able to feel yourself. And, by the end, you're going to be like, I'm a supermodel. I don't even know what I was nervous about. A good photographer should help get you there. But as we're leading up to your session date, I want you to think about yourself in an empowered way. I want you to envision yourself in a confident way. I want you to think about the beauty that you're going to be embracing and capturing, and just prepare yourself mentally to really immerse yourself in a celebratory experience. If you can visualize it, you can do it, right? So I just want you to think about yourself like, I am going to have fun at this session. I am fully capable of doing a good job at this session. I am going to have fun. My body is a good body. It's going to be awesome. I'm going to do awesome. If you can picture it, you're setting yourself up for success. We are creating stronger neural pathways between inside of our brain. If you listen to last week's episode, you know what I'm talking about. And that's just going to help a lot leading into your session. If you can see yourself doing a good job, you're going to do a good job. I also think it's really helpful to set yourself up the morning of your session with something that's like calming and relaxing, some sort of pre-shoot routine that is going to help calm your nerves down a little bit. So maybe that's meditation for you, maybe a little bit of gentle stretching. I highly recommend stretching before a session. Maybe doing a little bit of that. Maybe it's like sipping an herbal tea that you really love. Whatever it may be, I want you to create just a few moments of serenity the day of your actual session. And I think it's important to set yourself up for success in the morning by the night before, packing up what you can, maybe getting like your coffee ready to go. So all you got to do in the morning is like turn on a button or something like that. I really want you to have just like the chillest, calmest morning ever. Maybe that means that you don't even make coffee at home. Maybe you go and pick some up at a coffee shop, At my studio, we provide hair and makeup. So you don't have to do anything when you wake up in the morning. Just roll out of bed and get to me. If you don't want to pack any lingerie, you don't have to either, because I have that as well. So really, I want to give my clients the time to have the chillest, calmest, most relaxing morning possible. And I try to do that by taking over the responsibilities of most of the session. So I think having that calming routine the morning of your shoot is going to set you up for success by just like chilling our brains out a little bit. Again, probably not 100%. Your nerves are still going to be there a little bit, but hopefully we can like take some deep breaths and just tell our body that it's all going to be okay. We're going to start the morning in a really positive way, and that will kind of set the tone for the rest of the day. Also, if you have like a mood board or inspiration pictures or something that you really want to do, make sure you review that before your session. Have a conversation with your photographer about it. Because if you've got like a pose idea or something that you really want to do, I want to make sure we do it. So please let me know. And maybe you've forgotten, you put it on Pinterest 3 months ago and now it's the morning of your session and you forgot you even wanted to do it. So review your mood board, review your Pinterest board, or check out the screenshots that you took. And then the day of your session, make sure you bring those up to your photographer to make sure that we can work those into the session. Because if you forget, then I probably definitely won't know that it's something you want to do unless you've maybe emailed me about it earlier. I want to make sure that we're doing everything that you want to do. So review your inspirations. Make sure you bring them up to your photographer the morning of your session. And really that leads into my next point, which is about communicating your vision. It's something that you should have already had a conversation about, hopefully. At my studio, we have a discovery call and a consultation. Those are both great opportunities to share with me sort of the vision that you have. So if there is something that you want to do, maybe you have a preference, or maybe you even have a concern, those are two really fantastic times to bring those things up. Discovery call or consultation. I want to remove as much stress as possible from my clients and ensure that I am creating a session that meets their needs. So If there's something that you want to do, please let me know. Let your photographer know. I'm not the only one who feels this way. So please, please, please let your boudoir photographer know if there is something that you want to do, because we want to do it with you. As you're actually shooting, I want you to practice some mindful breathing. And this is something that I do with my clients. We breathe in, we inhale through the nose, and then we exhale through a slightly open mouth. It is a deep and intentional breath, and this can really help center your mind and ground you in the present moment. So maybe on your drive to the studio, practice a couple of those mindful breaths. And then when you're actually doing your session, it's really going to ground you in the moment and make you feel more present during your session. And for a lot of folks, this might be the first time in a long time that you've really had the opportunity to be in your body. What does it feel like to be in your body in this moment? What does your heartbeat feel like? What does your breath feel like in your lungs as you move your hands across your body? What does that feel like? I mean, when is the last time you really engaged with yourself and your body and you just thought about what it feels like to be in your body? It's probably been a while. It's not something that we do on a regular basis, right? So here's your opportunity with a little bit of mindful breathing to do exactly that. As we lead up to your session day, I want you to affirm your self-worth. Last week's episode was about affirmation. So if you're like, I don't know how to do that, ha ha ha, I have an episode for you. You can go and check out the affirmations episode from last week. I want you to remind yourself that you are deserving of this celebration and that your unique beauty is worth capturing. All right. It doesn't matter what you look like. I want you to know that you are worth documenting and you are worth celebrating. So please tell yourself that on a regular basis leading up to your session, because that is going to shut down that inner critic when it shows up and it's being a total jerk to you and it's bullying you and it's saying like, you don't deserve this. What are you doing? Who do you think you are? You're a narcissist. You're getting photos of yourself taken. Well, who do you freaking think you are? No, we're going to shut that voice down. I don't tolerate that voice in the studio. So, leading up to help break that negative way of thinking, I want you to practice some affirmations and remind yourself that, again, you are so worth this experience. Also, you got to just trust the process. I mean, it's scary. I get it. I've been on the other side of the camera. Booking a boudoir shoot, especially for the very first time, is really, really scary. And that's why you've booked with a photographer that you know and you trust, because then it's a lot easier to just trust the process. I'm here to guide you. That's my job as your photographer, to lead the way, to hold your hand. I want to show you how to do everything. I want to make sure that you're feeling as comfortable as possible and that you're having fun. And creating a comfortable and positive experience for you, that's like my number one goal. That's what I want. So if you show up and you are like, I'm going to be bad at this is not going to go well, you're just shut down mentally, there's not really a whole lot that I can do to get you out of that. That is your responsibility. That is all you have to do, is come with an open mind and the willingness to trust the process and the willingness to believe that your body is a good body. If you can show up and do that, I can do the rest. So trust the process, trust your photographer. If you did your due diligence and you did your research, you should hopefully have a photographer who you are ready to be like, I'm jumping in with you. We can do this together. And then you will make magic. If you have found a photographer that you trust, you guys are going to create something really, really special together. I also want you to release perfectionism. Easier said than done. I know. But I want you to try to let go of that perfectionism. I want you to embrace, if you can, or just be neutral about the imperfections that honestly make you really cool. This is a celebration of authenticity. That's what Boudoir is about, right? We're celebrating the things that make you unique, the things that make you special and cool and awesome and wonderful. I want to highlight those things. And if there is something on your body that you do not love or that you view as an imperfection, we're going to try to feel okay about that. I want you to know every single client who shows up in this studio, they got something. I mean, I would say 90% of my clients have something where they're like, I don't really like this thing about myself. That's fine. Most of us do. Most of us have something like that. So we're just going to treat it with kindness and respect, and we can leave it at that. I I flew to California relatively recently, and I did some self-portraits in my hotel room in California. And this was after being in 3 different airports. And then I also went swimming once I got to the hotel because it was 108 degrees out. So, of course, the pool was calling my name. I was tired, I was hungry, but when I got back to my room after the pool, the light in my room was so beautiful. I was like, it would be a crime not to take some self portraits in this light. So, hair was not done at all. I didn't like have any makeup on my face. Part of my hair was still wet from the pool. I didn't even have any lingerie with me. I had a robe and that was it. But I took self portraits in this hotel room with all of this gorgeous light on me in just a robe. Nothing was perfect about the setup at all. And they might be some of my favorite self portraits that I ever took of myself. The situation was not perfect, but that didn't matter. Once I was willing to let go of the fact that this was not going to be as curated as most of the self portraits I take are, oh, it was so much fun that I could do whatever I want. It didn't matter that my hair was wet and messy. It didn't matter that I didn't have makeup on. It didn't matter that I had bumps and bruises from stuff. It didn't matter that I had made it through 3 different airports and I was so tired. All that mattered was documenting myself in that moment and playing some good music while I did it. And like, I love those. Once you are able to release perfectionism, you can just have like uninhibited playtime, basically. The feelings of self consciousness will go away, and you can just explore and do something creative and funky and get into your element and feel yourself. And it's so much better than being hung up on the perfect little details that maybe you don't even have control over. So definitely find a way to let that go if you can. I also want you to try to embrace your vulnerability. Boudoir tends to be a very vulnerable type of photo shoot, so I wouldn't be surprised if you experience some vulnerability while you're shooting. Maybe it's just putting on that very first outfit. Maybe you feel this way right away when you show up and you don't have any hair or makeup done yet. I don't know. But I wouldn't be surprised if at some point in your journey you feel a little vulnerable. All right. It does take a lot of courage to celebrate your body in this way. And I want you to be proud of the fact that you are doing that. If you can't, try to embrace that vulnerability, explore it a little bit, and just see it as part of this whole boudoir empowering journey. Okay, I'm letting you know that you've got this. You are fully capable of rocking the heck out of your session. You are going to do a great job. And when that feeling of vulnerability shows up, we're going to be okay with it. And then last but not least, and I think this is maybe my favorite thing that I want folks to do as they're prepping mentally for their photo shoot, I really want you to reflect on your growth as a person. I want you to think about your personal growth. How far have you come? Where did you start? Where are you now? Recognizing the strength that it takes to step into a boudoir shoot and celebrate the journey that brought you here is something I think every single client should do before they ever step foot into the studio. Think about how this whole thing started. What prompted you to want to do a session? And where are you now? And how do you feel about your body now? And how are you going to feel about your body? What are your goals? Where do you want to get? How are you going to get there? All of that growth that you're doing, I want you to take a moment to really think about it, to honor it, to celebrate it, to recognize it. Because when we do all of this mental work and that we don't actually stop to recognize how hard all of that mental work was, I feel like we're missing a great opportunity to give ourselves a pat on the back. So you deserve it. If I had a gold sticker for you, I would give it to you, but I don't. So I want you to give yourself that metaphorical gold sticker right now and really reflect on the growth that you have done as a person. It's one of my favorite things to talk about with my clients. I love it when they share that with me. It I just get so incredibly proud of them when they tell me how far that they've come. And I want you to recognize that in yourself. So, do we feel like we are capable now of finding a photographer who's really going to work for us and mentally preparing for our boudoir shoot? Are we feeling good? Are we feeling capable of doing that? Awesome. I'm excited for you. You get to add a really fun self love tool to your self love tool belt, which is really cool. So get out there, find a photographer who works for you, and get to shooting because it's a really cool experience. Before we jump into this week's Babe of the Week, there are a couple of ways that you can support the podcast. You can rate and review the Babe Bulletin on whatever service you are listening to this on. It very, very much helps. So, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever it is that you're listening, please leave a review or rate. That helps us move up in the charts, which I really, really would appreciate. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. That helps a lot as well. And if you want to follow along with the work that I do at Buxom Boudoir, you can head to buxomboudoir.com and see all kinds of stuff about my studio, my work, what I believe in, what we're doing here at the studio, and how it can help you and your body image. You can also find Buxom Boudoir on Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, and Facebook. So I hope you'll check me out and see what we're up to at the studio because we got some cool stuff going on. All right, let's jump into the Babe of the Week. And the Babe of the Week is always someone who I just admire the heck out of, or I think is doing something really cool, who I really value, or I aspire to be more like. And I don't know if you follow Dollar Tree dinners on TikTok or YouTube, but I do. And the host, her name is Rebecca, and I think she is possibly the most empathetic, just kindest, most generous person I have ever had the pleasure of building a parasocial relationship with. She doesn't know who I am, but I know who she is, and I love her content. She approaches food in a way that I haven't seen many other food accounts do. If you're not familiar with what she does, she builds like budget friendly meals, and she relies primarily on the Dollar Tree to do so. So her goal is to help people who are limited. Maybe they have a fixed income, or they have some kind of like budget that they have to follow, or they're in like a food desert and they don't have access to grocery stores, and maybe Dollar General or Dollar Tree is all they have access to. She builds meals that are for those people. And I love watching her just because I get a lot of like cooking tips that I didn't really ever think of, like, oh, I didn't realize I could make a meal out of that, or I had no idea that is how that was cooked. I don't know. I get a lot of recipe ideas from her that I really love. But she approaches food, especially for people who don't have a huge grocery budget. She makes meals that are so just inviting and warm. And she talks about these kinds of meals in such a kind and generous way. And I really, really admire that about her. She's kind of changed the way that I view and talk about food, which I appreciate so much. And now she even will make food like on her YouTube, she's been making a lot of food for an elderly woman that she knows, and she's been talking about how she meal preps and makes food for her. So community care is a really big part of what she does. And if you know anything about me and the work that I do, self-care is great, but it can't exist without community care. That's something that I believe in. So to see her doing it in such a loving way, it gives me goosebumps. I adore her content. If you have not had a chance to check out Dollar Tree dinners on TikTok or YouTube, definitely go check out Rebecca's work because she is such a light. I just feel like being in a room with her would feel so warm and inviting. She seems just like an incredibly kind person who will not judge you no matter what situation that you're in. And you'll get some really good recipes too. I have made some of the things that she has made, like her Dollar Tree crumble cookies, and I'm like, this is pretty good. And she she has, opened up. Um, I've learned quite a few new recipes from her, which I really appreciate as somebody who likes to cook and likes to learn and explore in the kitchen. So even if you're like, well, I don't shop at the Dollar Tree, which, like, oh my gosh, the Dollar Tree is so fun. Why don't you shop there? But that's totally fine. I love the Dollar Tree. Even if you don't shop at the Dollar Tree, you can get ideas from the food that she's making and pick up those items at any grocery store. But just to watch her and to listen to her and to see the way that she talks about food budgeting and people who are on a fixed income and the kinds of meals that they can make, I just adore her. And that is why she is this week's Babe of the Week. She will always be a babe in my eyes because I think she is such a wonderful, wonderful person. So if you haven't had a chance to check out Rebecca's content, please do. Go find her on YouTube. Go find her on TikTok. I would love as many people as possible to watch her stuff. I hope, I wish her nothing but success because she deserves it. She's such a cool person. Um, but yeah, that's all I have for you. I will leave you with the reminder that your body is a good body. I want you to be nice to yourself. I want you to be kind to yourself, okay? Okay? Go out there, be nice to yourself, be kind to others, and have a wonderful rest of your week.